In the year 2000, I went to Europe. I was in my late 20s, and this was a big adventure for me. It was a big trip in other ways, too. I mean, this was actually the first time I'd been anywhere where I needed a passport, but it was a big trip in other ways, too, because there were 9 of us going. Me, my girlfriend Mary, 3 other couples, and Mary's younger sister. So a trip with these dimensions, where we're visiting 3 countries in 10 days, big trip, requires a lot of planning. And this was 16 years ago, so we couldn't count on the internet. Most European hotels and attractions didn't have websites. So Mary and I bought a big stack of guidebooks and maps and went through them and negotiated with all our friends to make a detailed list of everything we wanted to do. And then when it was time to actually fly to Europe, my carry-on was Mary's hot pink giant tote bag full of those guidebooks and maps and to-do lists, which I carried throughout Europe as my 30-pound man purse. So our first stop is Barcelona, and there is so much to do there, from Gaudi's modernist architecture to the art and museums and parks. And on our last night there, I really wanted to take in the legendary nightlife that I'd read so much about in the guidebooks. So I leave the pink tote bag at home in the hotel, and carrying just a little pocket map of the city center, we head out. So the group gets off to a pretty good start. We go to a bar in the old Gothic quarter, and I endure the waiters snickering as I order beer in my broken Spanish, but it's all worth it for my second plate of fried camembert and the ham croquetas. As we wrap up dinner, I'm thinking about where are we going to go next. But then, to my surprise, half the group wants to go home. They want to call it a night. Like, why do you have to be so old and boring? But to be fair, our hotel is on the outskirts of the city, which was important because it was a lot cheaper. We're pretty young. But it's also a long metro ride away, and we're getting up first thing in the morning to rent cars and drive through France for the entire day. But despite my 7 a.m. wake-up call, I am not ready to say goodbye to Barcelona yet. So 4 of them head home, and 5 of us head to La Rambla, which is a wide street down the center of the city that's lined with bars and cafes that spill out onto the sidewalks. And having no guidebooks, we just look for a place that's busy, because we figured that's a sign that it's good, and we sit down and start ordering tapas and beer. At the table next to us, there's a big group. They're in their 50s and definitely tipsy already. And one of them greets us and explains that they're school teachers from Norway, and they all speak English, and they've overheard us talking about our trip. He asks us, are we getting breakfast at our hotel? And we say, yeah. And he says that they're surprised to find that on their bill, there was a charge for 1,000 pesetas each day for each of them. And when they looked up the words in their Norwegian-Spanish dictionary, it's for morning bread. And so then the Norwegian leader asks us, so do you say this in America, or is it just in Norway? When a man wakes up in the morning, he may feel a certain stiffness in a part of his body. We call this morning bread because the bread rises in the morning. And we look at each other, and only my friend Fred is willing to say it out loud. Oh, morning wood. Yeah, we have that in America. I see. Well, we didn't think it was fair, the hotel charged for it, but really, we want to know, how do they know? So, it's a little awkward and embarrassing to have people my parents' age telling me dirty jokes in a bar, but I figured just go with it. I've just met people from another country, they're very nice, and I've learned something our 2 cultures share in common. So we take our leave of the Norwegians about 1 a.m., and the metro in Barcelona closes at midnight, so we head out onto La Rambla to look for a cab. And we're walking down the street, and there are no taxis. And what's also strange is there are hardly any people. So where are the throngs of happy Spaniards that all the guidebooks promised me? But they're not there. So we keep walking down the street, and eventually we find a police officer. Habla inglés? Yes. I ask, where can we find a taxi stand? He looks at us kind of sadly and shakes his head. No, no taxi drivers. They strike tonight. They not work tonight. And then he gets a call on his radio and just walks away. Oh, mierda. Okay, no reason to panic. We'll just take a bus. Except we hadn't paid any attention to how the buses worked in Barcelona because the metro is so convenient there. So we find a bus stop, and then we really can't understand the Spanish on the sign. And my little pocket map doesn't include the area of the city that our hotel is in, so we actually have no idea what bus route we want to take anyway. So we have a little debate about what to do, and we decide we'll just stay on a big street and we'll keep walking in the general direction of our hotel, and hopefully we'll see a bus, and the bus driver will speak English and he'll help us. So we walk. We're walking for over an hour. I'm in a strange city, there's no metro, no taxi, I don't really know where I'm going, and I'm wandering the streets at night with my girlfriend's 19-year-old sister. And also, when I was ordering beer in 1-liter tankard after 1-liter tankard, I was not counting on a half marathon with no bathrooms. And then, like a mirage, in the distance, we see a city bus with a crowd of people around it. Mary says what everyone is thinking. I don't know where that bus is going, but we're getting on it. And we run down the street. When we get to the bus, we notice it's kind of odd that there are no people on the bus except for the driver, and the door is shut, and the engine isn't running. And we're talking about what to do, and a guy in the crowd hears us and comes over, "You guys looking for a bus?" Oh my God, another American. Ray is from New York City and comes to Barcelona frequently on business. And he's actually also fluent in Spanish and has already gotten the story from the bus driver who's willing to crack the door open a little bit to explain to him that the taxi strike started exactly at midnight when the metro closed, and the taxi drivers blockaded the bus depots with their cars to make sure no city buses could get in or out. This bus happened to be out already when that happened, but the bus driver, his route hasn't officially started yet, and he's not willing to let anyone get on the bus until the official start time of his route, because that will mess up the rest of his schedule. So we compare notes with Ray, and it turns out we're both staying in hotels that are pretty close to each other. So miraculously, this is actually the bus that will take us back to our hotel. We thank Ray profusely for coming to our rescue. And he lets us know that we're some kind of idiots for coming to Spain without speaking Spanish. Thanks, Ray. So we sit down on the curb and we wait for 45 minutes while the bus driver reads a book. We got back to the hotel about 4 a.m. and it was a pretty short night because we had to get up at 7 to rent cars. But even still, I knew my better rested friends, they were jealous when I told them at breakfast what an awesome night they missed. Because that trip we had so carefully planned, it was fantastic. But we got to do something no guidebook or TripAdvisor can tell you how to find. We heard Norwegian dirty jokes, we met a New Yorker who was actually helpful, and we got to experience being stranded by a European labor strike.